apparently there's something going around where there's going to be some disclosure. We know about aliens.gov. That's supposed to be the admission by the U.S. government, as well as some proof, maybe some declassified information about extraterrestrials, UFOs, UAPs, some of which we've already seen in the past. And we've also heard from high up in the government that there are human breeding programs with aliens. You heard that right. Hybrid, alien, human breeding programs. Now we're going to look into some new stuff that came out as well. And the word on the street is apparently church and state are no longer separate. Maybe they never were. But it's interesting because they're saying that a bunch of pastors got together and they met with the government about this disclosure that's coming out, and they have some major concerns. Let's look into it. From David Ick. This preacher claims a group of U.S. pastors have been warned to prepare their people for the release of the files. If you are not familiar with this gentleman, this is Pastor Perry Stone. He is definitely pro our greatest ally. He definitely is a self-admitting Zionist and all those type of things. So take with it what you will, grain of salt, whatever you want, 2 cents. But this is information that he is sharing, and it's kind of interesting, especially with the timing of disclosure happening for aliens.gov.
I had a friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking about. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft, that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, and the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures, and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles book.
A few things I want to point out here. If you look at his imagery, he's showing this UFO in the background during this video, several UFOs in the background, and then he has a UFO that's pulling a person up into the craft, right? So this is interesting visually, right? Because he's saying that a pastor who I can't name and I can't give you much information, that's kind of a red flag immediately. But he says there's supposed to be this disclosure from the government, and the government pulled in these pastors to tell their congregation that they need to prepare them for this idea that there's actually aliens or something similar, right? I'm still trying to figure out, are they saying that like humans came from aliens and they're trying to prepare the religious side of things, you know, whether you're Buddhist, Christian, whatever. And that's another question. Did this only include Christian, right? Because he's a Pentecostal. Did this only include Christian and Catholic pastors and preachers and ministers and stuff like that? Or was this like Buddhists? Did this include like Muslim and Islam? I mean, like, so what is actually going on here? Is this like a Project Blue Beamy type of like anti-Christian psyop type thing? I'd be really interested. I didn't see any other information specific to like who was specifically invited, and he's making it seem like he can't really talk about it or he's not going to talk about it. But it's interesting. In light of things like Project Bluebeam, where people are saying that they're going to do this whole fake thing to scare people and have aliens visit the planet and have UFOs and stuff like that, where does this fit into that? And if there is some kind of full disclosure to where they say like, yes, there's aliens, yes, there's UAPs officially, and here they are, here's pictures of them, here's files, here's things that we've done, here's what we studied, Here's what the metals are made of. Here's what their bodies are biologically, right? Even if they release all that stuff, what is that proving? And why would the government tell these pastors, allegedly, that all of this is something that is such a big deal that they need to warn the congregation? Well, let's look into that. If you are not familiar with this gentleman, this is Brandon Biggs. Some say he's fake. Some say he's legit. He's the one who found out that, he's the one that prophesized that President Trump would be shot, an assassination attempt, and that it would specifically hit his ear, his right ear. So he saw all of that. He also separately saw the Mardi Gras terror attack. He saw that ahead of time, and that one happened as well. So there's a few things he's hit, and this is one of the things he's been pushing. This video, I believe, here is from like 2014. So this has been, 10, 12 years now that he's been talking about this topic. So it's kind of interesting, but let's see what he said.
Months before I come back to get you, they're going to talk about aliens a lot. It's one of the signs. And this is in 2014. He said they're going to talk about aliens a lot. Like it's going to become a big deal. And he told me, you'll know and to be watching for the great deception that's about to take place. There's going to be something take place. There's an event. You'll see. There's a great deception. It's all set up. Whenever the lady at the beginning, when I told you she was frantic, screaming, the aliens come, it's going to be talked about in the media like all the time. It's going to start to become like, I almost to say the norm. And it almost is, isn't it? Kind of interesting. Where we are from 2014 to 2021.
The UFO landed in their backyard.
The United States government knows about UFOs.
Large non-human creatures.
An alien invasion was underway.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Now, there's been previous disclosure before about UAPs, and that's on like Arrow, which is that government agency now that's taken over, kind of like the Men in Black type of thing going on. So the interesting part about this is he was talking about this years ago, and this is still going on. And it's actually ramping up quite a bit. One thing interesting he did say was like the whole idea of the rapture, right? Like half the people or the good Christians going up into heaven and all that stuff, and they would meet God in the air, meet Jesus in the air and all that stuff. That whole idea, he's saying that basically the government is going to try to explain that away with aliens abducting people, right? Like something similar to that. Here he talks more about the deception.
The things you're about to see, he's saying, concerning these false alien and visitations. There's going to be a lot of you that are snared by this. There's no such things, I'm going to tell you this, as aliens. This is fallen angel stuff. Demonic spirits. They're sent to deceive you. This has to do with Nephilim. This has to do with dark things. As the days of Noah, so will it be when the Son of Man returns. Think about what was going on in Noah's time. And I've told you what the Lord warned me about countless times, about flying saucer-looking demonic things that would come up out of the sky and deceive the nations. And they'll hold up signs saying, welcome E.T. and all this weirdness. But it's going to be a great distractions. Fearful sights you will see that will bring you to your knee. You need to know there's going to be alien files released on a wide scale of things that's going to freak people out. That our government and other governments in the past have tried to hide, and the Smithsonian and things of artifacts and demonic things. And I'm telling you, it will try to deceive the nations.
So again, we're talking more about this deception, and we have people like Pastor Perry, like we saw earlier, basically saying, you know, the government brought us in, they brought in pastors to the government to tell them to tell their congregation that there's going to be some kind of disclosure, or telling them how to tell their congregation about this disclosure. Seems a little strange, doesn't it? Don't you think a pastor who knows the Bible inside and out would know how to communicate to his congregation about something that's being leaked by the government? That would seem pretty straightforward to me. Why would the government have to tell the pastors how to tell their congregation about this alien disclosure? Makes you wonder. I wanted to show this video here because not only does he talk about the deception and all this disclosure and stuff that's coming up, he gets a little bit more detailed in what his visions were. And again, I don't know if he's 100% legit, right? I'm just taking information from multiple sources and bringing it together. And then he also talks about these balls of light that fly around really fast at the speed of light, or just quickly, which is interesting because we had the same thing happen with the fireballs recently.
This was a massive looking spaceship thing. It was gold. It was thin and it had lightning bolts beaming all around it like it was all alive. It was over the Vatican. It was over Italy in the vision. And the other one was over the temples, these Mayan-looking temple things in Mexico. But the people had signs. They had, like, welcome to Earth. And they had signs, and they were excited about this alien thing going on in the sky. So they were like tinfoil hat people. Like, I'm talking, had signs, and I started to laugh. Because when I saw it, I thought, that's really funny, Lord. And the Lord said, no, this is not funny. This is a great deception. And many people are going to fall for what's about to take place on the earth. They're trying to come up with an alibi. The demonic is coming up with an alibi of what happens when the rapture takes place. This is a great deception. So then, over America, I saw balls of light that were traveling at the speed of light, very quick. Choo, 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 choo. And they would go into Canada, and they would go up and down the East Coast. And there was more than one, but they were the size of a little car. And they were coming out of the mothership. And the Lord kept saying, fearful sights you will see that will bring you to your knee.
All right, so now let's look at what's been happening lately. This is a video I did somewhat recently.
Talking about this very unusual meteor storm that is hitting the United States.
This ball of fire streaking across the night sky. The latest in a string of stellar sightings seen here overnight in California. Whoa! And Space City living up to its name. With this one Saturday afternoon in Houston. Traveling at 35,000 miles per hour, NASA says.
But since then, we have had a huge surge in sightings over the United States.
But this deserves a quick word about all of the meteors being seen right now. Most of them are not meteors.
So the things we're seeing, these fireballs that are kind of unexplained, people are like, oh, maybe it's a satellite burning back in from the atmosphere, or maybe it was a meteorite, or, you know, some kind of shooting star. Some people said maybe it was, you know, like warfare, basically, between like Russia, China, America, shooting each other's satellites down, right? Because we know like a couple of years back, Russia had some stuff in the air. We know the USSR had some. We know that apparently America had some weaponized satellites up in space. So it could be something like that. But it's interesting that Brandon Biggs and other people are talking about these demons, right? That's what they call the UFOs and the UAPs. They call them demons, right? And we know that J.D. Vance also said something similar.
You start getting really busy worrying about the economy and national security and things like that. But I've still got 3 more years as vice president. I will get to the bottom of the UFO files.
Have you peeked? Have you done a peek?
Have I what?
Have you done a peek? Have you you know?
So I actually haven't. I have not.
Independence Day.
I have. I have not been able to spend enough time on this to really understand it, but I am going to. Trust me, I'm obsessed with this. I've already had a couple of times where I'm like, all right, I'm going to Area 51. We're going out to New Mexico. We're going to sort of get to the bottom of this. And then the timing of the trip just didn't work out. But trust me, anybody who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody. And I've got 3 years of the very, very tippy top of the classification. I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, so you haven't been to Area 51 yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Say they get the UFOs in Ohio. They might.
Yeah, Hangar 18, right? I've heard that as well, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we're waiting for it. We saw aliens.gov. We saw aliens.gov.
I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway, but that's a longer discussion.
Well, I can't let you go without that qualifying. Because Barack Obama is on this podcast and he goes, yeah, aliens are real, but like, here's where they're not. And you know,
I did not.
And so Obama says he gets asked point blank, are aliens real? Oh yeah. And then he goes, but they're not at Area 51. And
well, where are they?
Well, that's what he says. Right. That's a great question.
I need to see this. I need to see this podcast. It's okay.
So you think they're demons?
Well, look, I think that celestial beings who fly around, who do weird things to people, I think that the desire to describe everything celestial, everything is otherworldly, to describe it as aliens. I mean, every great world religion, including Christianity, the one that I believe in, has understood that there are weird things out there, and there are things that are very difficult to explain. And I naturally go, when I hear about sort of extra natural phenomenon, that's where I go to, is the Christian understanding that, you know, there's a lot of good out there, but there's also some evil out there. And I think that one of the devil's great tricks is to convince people he never existed.
So you have JD Vance basically saying he thinks it's demons. I've heard this from a lot of other people as well. That it's more of like a spiritual thing, and we're just like seeing it in the form of like a UFO or alien or whatever it may be. I don't know. But based on a lot of stuff that I'm seeing, it seems like it's being pushed to the direction of some kind of disclosure. That disclosure is being controlled by the government, clearly, the aliens.gov. And the government is pushing it onto the pastors of Christian churches. I assume Christian churches. I don't know if it's all churches. I don't even know if it's all religions. And that would be even stranger if it's only for Christian adjacent religions, right? Wouldn't that be even stranger? I don't know, like Buddhism and Islam and all that stuff and what they believe. I know Scientology believes and maybe some spaceship coming back or something, but this is all very, very interesting. The timing is interesting. Brandon Biggs saying that this whole thing was kind of like pre-planned. He was saying this in 2014. All the way back in 2014, he was saying that this was going to happen. Something similar to this, like disclosure, obsessively talking about aliens, supposedly us like seeing them in some form. So, and then Project Bluebeam was leaked, maybe on purpose. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think that this is legitimate? Do you think it's something we need to worry about? Another piece of this as well, there's also that verse in the Bible too. King James Version, Luke 21:26 says, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming to the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Does that have something to do with this disclosure? Is this going to be something so shocking? And is that why the government's telling these churches to tell their congregation in a certain way to prevent this type of reaction? And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this around. If you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so down in the description. And we'll see you in the next one.